Welcome back to the Fever, everyone. There's still plenty to talk about on our kickoff show to start the 2010 season. First, we're going to get to some of the construction changes around the area, George, and obviously Cooper. There's some happy campers over there because they just got a brand new football stadium.
Yeah, it's a really neat facility over there at Cooper. Was able to go through and tour it as they were kind of fishing up some things. A couple years ago they built the new field house and the new turf room, which really gives them a competitive advantage over there, especially when the weather is bad. But this year it was the pièce de résistance over there. Get a brand new stadium, 6,000 seat stadium built from the ground up. New stands, new press box, field turf that was put in by the same people that put in the turf at the practice turf for Texas Tech, and also did some of the stuff for Friendship as well. Just a beautiful, gorgeous facility, great press box, a two-level press box with a film deck, huge radio rooms, huge coaching booths, all those kind of things. It's really a neat deal out there. Big giant scoreboard with a video replay that was purchased completely by donations, and so they've really got a first-class facility. I think maybe even though it's a 3A school, better than any 4A or 5A out here.
All right, and the Pirates, of course, not the only ones getting a new construction building. Friendship doing one as well. They get a brand new field house at the back of that stadium, and man, is it something to look at.
It is absolutely unbelievable for a 4A school. This is something that collegiate teams would love to have out there. What was built out at Friendship, brand new field house, new coaches' offices. From A to Z, this thing has everything. New locker rooms, about 3 different equipment rooms and laundry rooms. Meeting room, humongous coaches' offices. Everything that Friendship needs, but their big deal also is the indoor workout facility. The turf room is about 55 yards long, a full football length or football width wide with about 10 feet on each side, padded walls, the whole 9 yards. I mean, this is just something that is just an amazing deal for a high school program to have. Like I said, it's better than some colleges have out there, and something that I think will give Friendship a very big competitive advantage for the years coming.
All right, and going over to some of the teams and players to watch, let's start with that District 2 5A. Obviously, not just Coronado and Monterey, but you mentioned him, James Castleman and Amarillo. And Amarillo, obviously, maybe one of the big teams to watch this season.
And I think James Castleman is a big reason why Amarillo is going to be the district favorite. They're replacing a lot of people on offense and defense, and they've got a new coach in Mel Maxfield who's bringing the wing tee back with him from Burleson. But when you've got a kid like Castleman, he's going to anchor everything, and he's going to give you a real solid defense to start with. Elsewhere in the district, I really like what Lubbock High is doing. I know I mentioned them earlier, in their scrimmage with Odessa. I thought they went toe-to-toe with Odessa and really played well. I like the way they ran the ball. Shaquille Johnson coming back from injury, I think is going to be a solid running back for him. And part of a 1-2 punch with Aaron Paul Hill. Kellen Hammond got some experience last year filling in for injured Angel Almendares. I think he's going to be a decent quarterback. Then I think they have some skill people elsewhere. They're going to have some offensive line play that I think is solid, even though their top offensive lineman, Chris Kobos, is still about 2 weeks away from a foot injury that he suffered back in the spring. And then you look at Coronado. I mentioned Greg Allen is going to be an outstanding wide receiver for them, and a kid on defense I think kind of went unnoticed a little bit, but I think will be a solid guy this year. Is Braden Blackwell, is a linebacker who really came on as a junior and just seems to be wherever the ball is. He's really an outstanding linebacker. And then you look at some of the other teams. Monterey is going to have some good skilled kids. Arias Holloman, their outstanding wide receiver, he'll be a 3-year starter this year. Really is getting some Division I looks. Their deal at quarterback, not sure who's going to start there yet. They've kind of got a 3-headed monster that they're working with a couple of juniors and senior. And then you look at San Angelo Central. I think they'll be improved. I don't know how much they'll be improved. But it's kind of like Monterey. They're going to be in the middle of a second-year coach, so they're going to be, they're going to be a few steps ahead. Tascosa, I think, will be a solid bunch, which is why I think 2-5A from 2 through 6 is going to be a dogfight each and every time out.
All right, switching over to District 2-3A now, and obviously it starts with the Estacado Matadors over in that district, and Danny Cervantz, and what a horse he has in the backfield once again.
Yeah, I mean, you look at a guy like Augustine Biggity, and you say he ran for 960 some odd yards. You say, well, that's not that impressive. Well, considering that he sat out a couple ball games and didn't really get in as a full-time starter until maybe midway through the season. But once he got in as a starter and once he got comfortable back there, you could really see the difference he made for the Matadors. He's getting some Division I looks as well. And when everybody talks about stopping Estacado, right now they're talking about stopping Augustina Biggity. But they've got one of the best dual-threat quarterbacks on the South Plains in Deverick Stubblefield. Deverick threw for about 1,400 yards, ran for quite a bit, and was really able to hurt teams with his arm and with his legs. And then, of course, they've got some outstanding receivers. They got to replace Brylan Bradford, but Clarence Willard is going to be a solid receiver. Ty Russell is going to be a solid receiver. So they're going to have some good kids there. And then on defense, you got a guy like Leroy Mitchell who's going to be solid on the defensive line. So they're going to have a lot of good kids that are really going to step up and play well for them this year, I think.
All right, now looking at all the other teams around the area, George, who are some of the other teams to watch, and who are some of the players that, who are your all-South Plains guys for the preseason here?
Well, I think when you talk about looking at some of the lower classification levels, let's talk about 2A and talk about the team out in Littlefield. They are just going to have an outstanding football team this year, led by the running back Patrick Barrio, who we've seen for the last 3 years, and maybe one of the more underrated talents out there in Zach White, an outstanding tight end and defensive end. Those two together are going to really drive the offense and the defense for Littlefield. And, they're in that tough district with Bushland and those teams out there. Muleshoe's in that district as well. 3 teams right there that have either won or played in the state title game in the last 4 years. So they're really going to be needed for Littlefield out there. In 1A, like we said earlier, I like New Deal with Chavez Ward at quarterback. They're going to have a good solid, rotation in running back. Solid offensive lineman and Spencer Scott, an all-state guy at linebacker, and Garrett Mayo, and then they're just going to be solid up and down the line. So I like what New Deal is doing there. And then of course I think if you look in Division II of 1, you got to talk about Spring Lake Earth, ranked number 3 in the state to start the season. They've got their outstanding quarterback Blake Betts, the top returning 1A passer in the state, coming back, threw for over 2,100 yards and about 20 some odd touchdowns. So they're going to be solid as well. So you're talking about 2A and 1A. I think is where you're going to see a lot of the teams that have the best chance of going on and maybe winning the state championship this year.
All right, well, next up, we'll take a look at that first week of the season, also known as Week 0. And it's time for everyone's favorite part of the show. We'll get George's picks on who he likes to start the season 1-0. Back on the Fever after this.